During sixth form, my dream girl fell for a wealthy older man and spent all her time partying with him. I couldn't bear to see her spiral downwards, so I tried to intervene multiple times. Because of my interference, she and the older man reluctantly parted ways. Later, we fell in love and got married. With my support, she became successful and reached the pinnacle of her career. However, when I was lying in a hospital bed, she callously removed my oxygen tube. If it weren't for you, I'd have been a rich man's wife by now. Once you're gone, I can find someone else. I deserve better. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in sixth form, on the day she first got together with the older man. Ding! Story Shots reminds you to click the subscribe button at the bottom right corner to read the full novel. Oh my goodness, Angie. Is that him coming to pick you up? He's so handsome. Handsome isn't the point. He's driving a Rolls-Royce, a luxury car. I've only ever seen them in pictures before. This is my first time seeing one in real life. Angie, how did you meet him? You're so lucky. My classmates crowded around the art studio window, their chatter revolving around the man downstairs holding roses and standing next to his luxury car. As I looked at these youthful faces full of energy, I suddenly realized, I've been reborn into sixth form. Angie Green was at the center of the crowd, her cheeks flushed pink. I told Zion not to come, but he insisted. He's nearly 30, yet he's chasing after me like a lovesick teenager. Doesn't act like a big businessman at all. Despite her words, there wasn't a hint of reproach in her tone. If anything, it was full of pride. Angie leaned out the window and waved to the man below, her voice clear and bright. Old man! The man in the suit looked up, a gentle smile on his face. I'm here. They gazed at each other lovingly, clearly a couple deeply in love. Angie was my desk mate and the girl I'd secretly fancied for ages. We were both art students. There were plenty of fashionable types among the art students, but Angie was different. She was naturally beautiful, with a face that needed no makeup and misty eyes that made you long to gaze into them, especially when the afternoon sun fell on her fair, slender neck. The scene was as beautiful as a painting from the last century. People often teased her, "You're so pretty. You should be an actress or a dancer. It's a waste of that lovely face to be an artist." Angie didn't mind. I love painting. It feels like I'm creating my own world with my brush. Countless boys pursued her, sending love letters, gifts, asking her out. She always refused with a smile, looking sincerely at those boys and saying, "Sixth form isn't the time for dating. We should focus on our studies. But we can work hard together and try to get into the same university." Her words were ambiguous, a refusal that still seemed to offer hope. I knew her goal was the Royal College of Art. My grades in our specialty were far ahead in this art exam training school, so I often helped her critique her paintings and point out areas for improvement. We had the same goal, often working late into the night in the art studio. I thought it would continue like this until we both got into RCA. But then Zion Harris appeared. I was the class prefect. In my previous life, Angie Green begged me to lie to our head teacher so she could go out with Zion Harris. I couldn't resist her pleading and agreed. From that moment on, everything spiraled out of control. At first, Angie still made excuses to skip class, but later she simply started truanting. She stopped drawing altogether, spending every day gallivanting around with Zion. Her grades plummeted. I tried to reason with her. She just laughed carelessly and retorted, "Are you daft? Isn't the point of studying to have a better life? I found a way to live well now, so why bother with school?" I couldn't bear to watch her fall, so I told her parents. Adults have seen more and can see further than us. Their words cut to the chase. "He's got looks and money. What does he want from you except your youth? There's you now, but there'll be other young girls later. Angie, you're too young. You can't play his game." But Angie was confident. "He loves me. He'll marry me. I can definitely keep his heart." However, under her parents' interference, Zion broke up with her. Angie was devastated, losing 10 pounds in a short time, and her eyes were constantly red and puffy. I felt guilty, so I did my best to tutor her. On the day of our A-levels, she learned that Zion had gotten married. She threatened to jump from the school roof. Her parents were out of town and could only beg me to talk her down. I couldn't stay uninvolved. As a result, I didn't do well in my exams. Later, we went our separate ways, but when we met again years later, I was still easily drawn to her. We naturally fell in love and got married. She wanted to continue her studies, so I opened a tutoring center to support her. Finally, she became a moderately famous female artist. But soon, I saw her entering and leaving hotels with art dealers. When I confronted her, she stood there in a bathrobe, smirking. "Who do you think you are? Just a tutor at a shabby learning center. You think you deserve me?" She told me that she only married me after she'd had her fun outside, using me as a fallback. I was thunderstruck. That night, I wandered the streets in a daze and was hit by a drunk driver. When I was lying in the hospital bed, Angie directly removed my oxygen tube. "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have had such a hard time these years. I could have been a rich man's wife long ago. Those men, so what if they had money? They were old and ugly, and all of them were so cunning, and they had shrews at home. No one loved me like Zion did. They wasted my best years. Look, even heaven is favoring me. It's good that you're dying. When you're gone, I can find someone else. I'm a famous artist now. I deserve better. Your insurance payout will be my compensation. Chaz Lloyd, don't blame me for being ruthless. It's every man for himself in this world." The venom in her words chilled me to the bone. I regretted my past actions, hating myself for meddling and for being blinded by her beautiful facade. Heaven has given me another chance, and this time, I will definitely cut ties with her and live my own life. I'm going to the Royal Academy of Arts. Angie Green looked at me. "Class rep, I won't be coming to the evening study session. If the head teacher asks, just say I wasn't feeling well and went home early." The scene from my previous life was replaying before my eyes. In the past, I would have certainly tried to persuade her. But now there was no need. The bitter lesson from my previous life was still fresh in my mind, and I wouldn't interfere with her life again. I said coolly, "I won't lie. If you want to skip the evening session, you'll have to find an excuse and ask the head teacher yourself." With that, I sat back down at my desk and continued with my still life drawing. Angie was brilliant in her studies and stunningly beautiful, undoubtedly a golden girl. She was used to rejecting others, rarely being rejected herself, especially not in public. Moreover, in the past, I had always been at her beck and call. Angie immediately became annoyed. "I'm just asking for a small favor. It's not like I'm putting you out." "Chaz Lloyd, what's your problem?" A gossipy classmate sneered. "What else could it be?" The lapdogs finally had enough. Angie had always been aloof, rarely interacting much with boys. As for me, not only had we been in the same class since secondary school, but we'd also ended up at the same sixth form college, even choosing the same art course. We'd known each other for 5 years, so naturally, she was closer to me than to others. I used to think I was special. As it turned out, I was deluding myself. A boy, feeling indignant on Angie's behalf, glared at me. "Chaz Lloyd, you can't sabotage things just because the queen bee didn't choose you." I was exasperated. "I'm just telling Angie to go to the teacher herself and take responsibility for her own actions. What's wrong with that? I'm not snitching on her. How is this sabotage?" Just then, a deep, magnetic voice called out, "Darling." It was Zion Harris. Seeing that Angie hadn't come down for a while, he'd come up himself. From afar, he just looked tall and handsome, but up close, his commanding presence was overwhelming. He was nothing like us inexperienced sixth formers. Angie's eyes lit up when she saw him. She pushed through the crowd and threw herself into his arms. "How did you get in?" Our school was a closed campus, and outsiders generally couldn't enter. Zion smiled mysteriously. "I have my ways, but I did come through the main gate." With just one sentence, he successfully made Angie laugh. "Well, my man does have connections," she said, then looked at me. "Our class rep is too responsible. He insists I go ask the head teacher for leave myself." Angie pouted as if she'd been terribly wronged. Zion followed her gaze towards me, looking me up and down with the air of someone in a position of authority. In the past, I might have been intimidated, but having lived this life twice, I'd seen too many such scenes. Zion approached me. "Young man, let me tell you a truth. Rules are made to be broken. Helping others never hurts." He sounded patronizing. I continued drawing, unfazed. Zion increased the intensity of his warning. "Offending her is the same as offending me. I hope you don't run into me after you enter society." He was just showing off in front of sixth formers. I didn't argue. "Oh, right. So you two go ask for leave yourselves. I can't do it for you." Angie looked slightly angry and snarled at me. "Let me tell you, Chaz Lloyd, you can't handle the consequences of making my man angry." Then, she switched to a smile, addressing Zion. "Babe, let's go. Don't bother with this idiot." They walked away arm in arm. "Babe, why don't you pretend to be my uncle and help me ask for leave?" "All right. What if the head teacher finds out? I'll be in big trouble. Worst case, you drop out. I'll take care of you. You're the best. I love you so much." They were being intimate without a care for others, ostentatiously flaunting their sweetness. I just found it affected. The classmates' enthusiasm hadn't diminished, and they continued to chatter. Zion standing up for Angie was so cool. Who knew the Ice Queen Angie could be so coquettish? A girl chimed in. "Of course, girls are all a bit dramatic when facing the one they love. If she's not acting up, she definitely doesn't love you." I lowered my head and smiled bitterly. In my previous life, when Angie was dating me, she was always gentle, considerate, and understanding. I always thought it was due to her upbringing. But it wasn't. She just didn't love me. Without my interference, Angie Green was riding high on success. Her once pristine white dress was gradually replaced by an array of designer labels. Her slender neck and wrists were now adorned with colorful gold and silver jewelry. The canvas bag she used to carry had transformed into an expensive luxury handbag. A girl recognized the bag in her hand and exclaimed, "That bag must be so expensive. Oh my, it's worth more than my dad's annual salary." Angie casually replied, "It's a gift from my boyfriend. He said it's to commemorate our 1-month anniversary." The girl's face was full of envy. "Angie, your boyfriend is so good to you." Angie smirked. "For him, it's just pocket change, small money." She was becoming more beautiful and more flamboyant by the day. One evening after study hall, Angie walked straight to the front of the classroom. "Everyone, stop what you're doing and listen to me. This Sunday is my birthday, and I'm inviting you all to my birthday party." Our school was quite strict, with only Sundays off. Students could choose to stay at school or go home. Usually, I only went home once a month. The school was too far, and it took several hours to travel back and forth. Angie had even printed out invitations, handing them out while saying, "Please make sure to come. I've prepared many surprises." A classmate saw the address on the invitation and exclaimed, "It's at the Regent Hotel, 5-star luxury." Angie held her chin high, basking in the envious glances from all directions. As if that wasn't enough, she continued, "Indeed, and the chef is specially invited by my boyfriend from France. He's even cooked for the royal family before." Everyone started excitedly discussing what gifts to bring and what clothes to wear. Soon, Angie came to my desk. "Chaz, you must come too." I looked at the golden invitation but didn't take it. "The A-levels are coming up soon. I don't have time. If all goes as planned, in a week we'd be going to the training school in London to prepare for the entrance exams of various art schools. I wouldn't even have time to go home, let alone attend such events." Art students face 3 major hurdles: the joint exam, school exams, and A-levels. We must make the most of every minute. We even train during Christmas Day in other cities. We've just finished the joint exam with 2 more mountains to climb. I really don't have the time. Hearing my refusal, Angie was stunned. Classmates spoke up for her. "Chaz Lloyd, how can you be so ungrateful? Angie's not even mentioning what happened last time, and she's inviting you to her birthday party. Who do you think you are? Too good for us, are you?" Yeah, this might be your only chance in your life to go to a five-star hotel, haha. And you're not even appreciating it. Before I could respond, an impatient Tage came from the corner. What's wrong with you lot? If Chaz doesn't want to go, he doesn't have to. Why are you all making such a fuss? The A-levels are just around the corner. And you're all thinking about partying? Do you really think she wants to invite you? She's just showing off how amazing her boyfriend is. All right, I'm not going either. Go if you want to, but discuss it privately. Don't use public space for this. I need to draw, and I don't want to hear your chatter. The speaker was Sherry Campbell, a unique presence in our class. She always kept to herself, rarely spoke, and had a low profile. She did her homework carelessly and always seemed lazy in class. But in every mock exam, she always came first. I've lost count of how many times I've stood outside the staff room, hearing teachers sigh. Talent is truly terrifying. I've been drawing for over 20 years, and I still can't match a girl who's only been drawing for 2. I never expected her to speak up for me at this moment. Never mind, don't flatter yourself. She probably just found it noisy. I also said, if you want to go, then go. It's none of my business. Angie was at a loss, her smile frozen on her face. After a while, she pointed at my nose and scolded. Fine, Ches Lloyd, you're so great. Don't regret it. I'm telling you, in the future, you'd better avoid my boyfriend when you see him. He's not someone you can mess with. With that, she turned and left the art room. Sherry snorted. Some people are just in it for the novelty, while others really think they're all that. Soon, we'll be heading off to Paris next Monday. On Saturday after classes, the head teacher called me to his office. Chaz Lloyd, Angie Green told me today that she doesn't want to go to the training camp anymore. Do you know what's going on? He asked. What else could it be but because of Zion Harris? But I still shook my head, indicating I didn't know. The head teacher pondered for a moment, then said, how about this? You're the class president, and I've seen you two interact quite a bit. Why don't you try to persuade her? I hope that when you return to school on Monday, she will have changed her mind. I had no intention of persuading her. Sir, if you couldn't convince her, my words would be even less effective. The head teacher sighed and went to contact Angie's parents. Before leaving for Paris, I still planned to go home to say goodbye to my parents. Just as I exited the school gates, I encountered Angie waiting by the roadside. She stood with her arms crossed, chin raised. Chaz Lloyd, have you come to be the head teacher's mouthpiece too? Her eyes were contemptuous. Are you going to spout some rubbish about knowledge changes destiny again? I had indeed said such things before last year. Angie had just come to this art school and couldn't handle the high-pressure learning environment. Her grades in her specialty fluctuated greatly, and she showed symptoms of school aversion for a while. I encouraged her for a long time, and with daily one-on-one tutoring, I finally managed to help her regain her confidence. I remember that day we painted together from dusk till dawn. As the last streak of sunset faded from the sky, she stood up and went to the window. A gentle breeze ruffled the loose strands of hair at her temples. She said, Chaz, we must go to the Royal Academy of Arts together. In this war of youth, you and I will surely be the victors. At that moment, she was radiant, more dazzling than the morning sun. I smiled and agreed, giving her a high five. But in the blink of an eye, we've come to this. She's changed so much. Angie seemed to have finally caught me in a mistake and started pontificating, her mouth running a mile a minute. Do you really think getting into the Royal Academy of Arts will make you somebody? People like you, no matter how much you study or how well you do, without resources or status, you'll still be ordinary, poor and pathetic for life. It's fine if you want to be stupid, but don't stand in my way of becoming a rich man's wife. I knew she was this kind of person. These words couldn't hurt me anymore. I calmly said, it's up to you. Make your own decision. It has nothing to do with me. Angie paused, somewhat surprised, as if she hadn't expected my attitude to be so indifferent. I mercilessly exposed her self-importance. I'm just waiting for the bus here. Like you. I never intended to persuade you. Angie's expression turned sour. At this moment, Zion Harris arrived in his Rolls-Royce. Angie's eyes lit up, and she cooed, "Darling." Zion gave me another contemptuous look, which made me very uncomfortable. Angie hurriedly opened the passenger door and said loudly to me, "All right, Chaz, stop trying to persuade me. I'm telling you clearly, I'm not going to Paris, and even if I do go, I'll find a way to come back." She looked at Zion pitifully. "Darling, I can't bear to be away from you." Zion's lips curled up in a smile, seemingly enjoying her adoring gaze. Angie was deliberately saying these things in front of him, taking the opportunity to show her loyalty. Zion said gently, "If you don't want to go, then don't. With me here, no one can force you." He looked at me again, warning, "Don't pester Angie anymore. She doesn't like you. Moreover, now that she has me, she certainly won't look at you twice." A woman protected by a wolf would never look at a stray dog. Angie nodded, her face full of admiration. I sneered, "You're 30 years old and still comparing yourself to teenagers. Is that supposed to boost your confidence or what? I'm busy with my studies. I really have no interest in your precious darling." Zion's expression darkened. Angie shouted, "Our darling wouldn't stoop to your level. Once upon a time, she had defended me like this too." With a roar of the engine, they drove away in the Rolls-Royce. I stood there, letting out a sigh. Before, I always thought Angie was rational enough to know what she should and shouldn't do. It wasn't until Zion appeared that I realized she had always known exactly what she wanted. She didn't like penniless, naive schoolboys, nor did she like the process of struggling and growing. What she wanted had always been mature, wealthy men. She wanted to reach the top in one step, to live a life above others. But would it really be that easy? Under pressure from her parents, Angie Green still went to Edinburgh. But soon, I heard that she had fallen seriously ill and returned home. Her new roommates were all talking about it. In such cold weather, Angie was soaking herself in ice water. She's really risking her life. Isn't this madness? If she doesn't want to take the exam, why come to Edinburgh at all? So many people want to come but can't. My mum saved up for ages to send me here for training. I've got to work hard. This seemed like something Angie would do. She had no limits when it came to achieving her goals, so I wasn't too surprised. On the day after the school exam, the sky in Edinburgh, which had been gloomy for a long time, suddenly cleared up. Coming out of the exam hall, Sherry Campbell asked me, "How did you do?" I replied, "Not bad." In this life, without Angie interfering and without having to spend a lot of time tutoring her and managing her emotions, I indeed performed well. I did okay too. Let's hope we can both get into the Royal College of Art together. Sherry reached out her hand to me, her eyes reflecting the sunset of the day. It was beautiful. I took her hand and nodded in agreement. With the practical exam over, it was time to focus on the academic subjects. After all, the Royal College of Art also has high requirements for academic grades. I left the art school and returned to Nonsuch High School. As soon as I entered the classroom, I heard someone say, "Have you heard? Angie threw up during the open class. Morning sickness. Oh my God. Is it from that rich boyfriend of hers? Who knows?" Anyway, the head teacher called her parents. This isn't going to end well. Someone looked at me, smiling maliciously. "Chaz Lloyd, you were at the same art school as Angie. You must know something, right?" I shook my head. "I just got back from training in Edinburgh. I don't know anything." After returning from Edinburgh, Angie rested for a while, then gave up on the school exam and returned to Nonsuch High School to study academic subjects. Giving up the school exam meant she had basically no chance of getting into any reputable art college, let alone the program she wanted. But with her art exam results, if she did well in the A-levels, she could still get into a decent comprehensive university. It's just a pity that she was still hanging out with Zion Harris every day. I heard from classmates that her academic performance was now even worse than it was 2 years ago, basically at the bottom of the class. I focused on my maths problems, putting all these irrelevant gossips out of my mind. The next day, Mr. Green arrived at the school with a suitcase, looking furious. Behind him were Mrs. Green with a worried expression and Angie, who was sobbing non-stop. Mr. Green opened the suitcase on the teacher's desk and took out bags, jewelry, and clothes one by one. Who gave her all these? Where did you students get the money from? Angie was Mr. Green's only daughter, and he treasured her like the apple of his eye, usually keeping a close watch on her. But you see, Angie had been boarding at school. She kept all these designer items in her dorm and would change into simple white dresses or school uniforms when she went home. So Mr. and Mrs. Green hadn't noticed anything wrong until it was too late. After scanning the room, Mr. Green's sharp gaze landed directly on me. He questioned, "Chaz, do you know anything about this?" Mrs. Green and my mum were colleagues, and our two families were quite close. Under Angie's pleading gaze, I shook my head and repeated, "Uncle, I just got back from Edinburgh. I wouldn't get involved in any of her affairs." Mrs. Green suggested, "Why don't we go ask at Angie's art school? Maybe the head teacher there knows something." Angie's face turned pale instantly. She might have been somewhat restrained at none such high, but the art school was far away, out of sight of authority figures, and she had been much more flamboyant there. Just for her absences alone, Zion had shown up there countless times. Mr. Green left empty-handed, but before he left, he made a stern threat. "It's better if I don't find out which little brat is responsible. Otherwise, I'll break his legs. Even if it costs me my life, I'll make sure he pays the price." As soon as they left, the classroom burst into chatter. Seeking some peace and quiet, I wandered off to revise my vocabulary. Suddenly, Angie Green sprang out of nowhere, grabbing my arm with urgency in her voice. "Chaz Lloyd, you've got to help me." I instinctively tried to pull away, but she clung on tightly. "I really don't know what to do. My mum's taken my phone, and I can't call him. Can I borrow yours, please?" Those beautiful, tear-filled eyes stared at me, pleading and hopeful. There was also a strange confidence and certainty in them that I couldn't quite place. I sighed. "I hate to say it, but if he really wanted to take responsibility, he'd have contacted you by now." Angie became agitated, defending him. "It's not like that. I tried calling him a few days ago, but he didn't answer. Something must have happened to him. He wouldn't just abandon me. Chaz, I know you've always been so kind to me. You even tutored me before. You're my best friend. You wouldn't leave me in the lurch, would you? In my past life, did she ever think about my kindness when she pulled out my oxygen tube? I didn't want to remember. It was too painful." I finally managed to extract my arm from her grasp. "You need to sort this out yourself. I can't help you." Angie stood there, devastated, with tears streaming down her face. She was blinded by what she thought was love. She believed that because Zion Harris spent so much money on her, he must love her. But she failed to realize that Zion had never actually planned for her future. If he had, he would have encouraged her to study hard and chase her dreams, not use love as an excuse for indulgence and leave her uneducated. What Zion needed was just a young, pretty trophy girlfriend to show off. What they had wasn't love. It was hedonism, a mutual exploitation. One sought money, the other youth and beauty. But true love should always bring out the best in both people. I heard about what happened next from my mum. Angie's father eventually discovered that her boyfriend was Zion Harris. Zion came to apologize in person and was beaten up by Mr. Green. Angie threw herself in front of Zion. "Dad, it's all my fault. I was the one who pursued him. If you want to hit someone, hit me." Of course, Mr. Green couldn't bring himself to do it. He hadn't even been able to hit her when he found out she was pregnant. "You despicable beast. You're more than a decade older than my daughter. How could you do this?" Mr. Green shouted, threatening to call the police and press charges. "My daughter's still a student. She needs to finish her A-levels. You can't ruin her life like this. Angie, we're going to the clinic tomorrow. You're getting an abortion." Angie cried, refusing. "He'll take responsibility for me. He'll marry me. He hasn't ruined my life. Meeting him is the best thing that's ever happened to me." Mr. Green ignored her words and locked her in her room. Angie protested with her actions, and this time, she was more drastic than ever before. She attempted suicide by slitting her wrists. Thankfully, Mrs. Green found her in time, saving her life. However, Angie had severed the tendons in her hands. She could no longer write or draw and would need a long time to recover. Zion knelt by her hospital bed, begging Mr. and Mrs. Green for forgiveness and swearing he'd take care of Angie for the rest of his life. Mr. Green, having nearly lost his daughter, was too shaken to object any further. And so, Angie dropped out of school and got her wish to be with Zion. The head teacher at Nonsuch High School used this as a cautionary tale, repeatedly warning us. I know you're young and face many temptations, but you're students. There's a time and place for everything. These are your best years. If you don't study hard and work towards your goals now, you'll definitely regret it later. There are shortcuts in life, but most people who take them end up on a much harder, more difficult path. Remember this. It's still early days, but let's see where you all are in 10-20 years. April arrived quietly, and the Royal College of Art entrance exam results were out. My ranking was far ahead. As long as I passed the A-levels, I would be able to attend the Royal College of Art. I called my art teacher to share the good news, and they were all very pleased. Sherry Campbell did quite well too. You two should focus on your A-levels now. You'll be schoolmates soon. Sherry was from Center High School, and her academic performance was better than mine. She should have no problem getting in. There was a hint of regret in the teacher's voice, though. It's a pity about Angie Green. She could have gotten into one of the top art schools, too. I thought I would never see Angie again, but on the day of the A-levels, she appeared with Zion Harris, bringing a truck full of supplies. Her pregnancy was already showing, but she lacked her usual vitality, with undisguised fatigue hidden in her eyes. She walked up to the head teacher, smiling sweetly. Mr. Webster, I wanted to do something for my classmates, so I brought a truck of bottled water and tissues to hand out for free. I hope everyone does well on their exams. The head teacher seemed uninterested, half-heartedly saying it was fine. The teachers all saw her as bad luck and were reluctant to have her there, fearing she might be a bad influence on the other students. Angie, holding onto Zion's arm, walked up to me with a smug look on her face. I told you before, my man wouldn't abandon me. He's the father of my child now. Not wanting to engage in pointless conversation, I walked away to review the practice questions the teacher had given us. Feeling snubbed, Angie started handing out water and tissues. Zion seemed very nervous, constantly supporting her. Darling, be careful. Don't tire out the baby. The two of them were shamelessly displaying their affection amidst the crowded exam venue. Some classmates complained, "This lovesick fool really has the nerve to show up. What's there to be afraid of? She's going to be a rich man's wife." Please, with her show-off attitude, if she were really becoming a rich man's wife, wouldn't she have invited us to the wedding? It's obviously not settled yet. They're probably waiting to see what's in her belly. Angie immediately flew into a rage, her voice shrill. What do you mean by that? Are you jealous that I'm doing well? Her outburst caused many students who were reviewing to look up. The head teacher said irritably, "If you're not taking the exam yourself, that's fine, but could you not disturb the other students? Please leave now. We don't need these things either. We've already prepared everything for the students." Angie looked at Zion, pouting, "Darling, say something." Just as Zion was about to speak, a woman suddenly appeared and slapped both of them across the face. Well, Zion Harris, you've got some nerve, daring to find a mistress behind my back." The woman was very beautiful, with fair and delicate skin, dressed in designer clothes. She was clearly someone used to a life of luxury. "You've really done it this time, finding a bloody schoolgirl. You absolute beast." The woman slapped Zion again, the sound echoing loudly. Zion's face turned red, unable to utter a word. Angie was stunned. The crowd immediately erupted. Bloody hell! What a twist! So Angie's the mistress. No wonder there was no wedding. What rich man's wife? Keep dreaming. That baby in her belly is illegitimate. I knew it. There's no such thing as pie falling from the sky. It's more like an anvil, ready to crush you to death. As if not satisfied, the woman slapped Zion a few more times, left and right, the sound crisp and clear. His face swelled up, numerous clear finger marks appearing, crisscrossing his face. With so many people watching, Zion's face was practically being ground into the dirt. Yet he didn't dare utter a word of protest. Zion Harris, we're getting a divorce. With those words, the woman left. Zion visibly panicked. Darling, I was wrong. I was just momentarily bewitched. Let's not get divorced. It was all her seducing me. He looked like he was about to get on his knees and beg. Angie tried to pull him back, but he shoved her away. You vixen! Don't touch me. Get lost. His resentful tone suggested he wished her dead. Angie lost her balance and fell to the ground. Blood slowly seeped out from beneath her. She turned pale, screaming in anguish. The baby! My baby! As the ambulance arrived, the exam venue doors opened. I followed the crowd inside, finally finding some peace and quiet. Later, I heard that the incident made the news and caused quite a stir. In the comments section, some netizens revealed that Zion was actually a kept man, and everything he had now belonged to his wife. Rich people are always shrewd. They must have had a prenup, so if Zion divorces now, he probably won't get a penny. That's why Zion was so afraid of divorce. Only a naive girl who's never seen the world would believe in this fairy tale of marrying into wealth so easily. Some insiders also revealed that Zion's wife was preparing to sue him to recover all the money he had spent on Angie. Zion had spent quite a lot on Angie, not just on bags, clothes, and jewelry. He often took her out to play, and that birthday party alone must have cost a fortune. But the Green family were just ordinary people. How could they afford to pay it back? Mr. Green wasn't backing down either, threatening to sue Zion for intentional harm. His daughter had suffered uterine damage after the miscarriage and could no longer have children. They sued back and forth, but in the end, no one came out ahead. The whole affair became nothing more than a joke for people to gossip about over tea. Mr. Green's hair turned white with worry, while Mrs. Green spent her days in tears. My mum took me to visit Angie. She lay in the hospital bed, her face gaunt, having lost all her former radiance. Have you come to pity me, or to gloat? She glared at me hatefully, stubbornly saying, Don't pity me. I'll tell you, I'm still happier than all of you. There are things you'll never experience in your lifetime. How lucky I am to have lived the life of my dreams in the prime of my youth. I sneered. And now you'll reminisce about it for the rest of your life? She was still so deluded. I really had nothing in common with someone like her. The only reason I came to visit was because my mum and Mrs. Green were acquainted. Angie shouted after me as I left. I won't just reminisce for the rest of my life. I'll do even better. 1,000 times, 10,000 times better than now. Just you wait and see. My life is only just beginning. A bright future is waiting for me. But why did I hear a choke in her voice? I finally got into the Royal Academy of Arts, just as I had always dreamed. It was 10 years later when I saw Angie Green again. I was at an art gallery with my wife, discussing a potential collaboration with an art dealer. The dealer had brought along a familiar-looking woman. She resembled Angie, but her features seemed subtly different. My wife leaned in and whispered, It's her. She's had work done. The art dealer, noticing my lingering gaze, explained with a smirk. You know how it is. Sometimes you get tired of fine dining at home and crave some simple fare. Not like you, Mr. Lloyd, with such a successful and beautiful wife by your side. Angie looked visibly uncomfortable. None of us had anticipated meeting under such circumstances. The dealer continued, My girlfriend here studied art as well. She knows a thing or two about paintings. My wife, clearly put off by his demeanor, decided against the collaboration. She's always managed the gallery, and I trust her judgment completely as my main focus lies elsewhere. The art dealer left empty-handed. As I stepped aside to take a phone call, I overheard the dealer and Angie arguing. What's wrong with you now? Always about the money, isn't it? The dealer struck her across the face. You worthless piece of trash. You're an embarrassment to be seen with. If you weren't so obedient, I'd have dumped you ages ago. When Angie lifted her head, I could clearly see that her nose was now crooked. She covered her face in panic, frantically searching her bag for a mirror. My nose is ruined. You have to pay for this. You have to pay. She clutched at the dealer's trousers, her voice raw with desperation. I couldn't bear to watch any longer. She had been young once, unaware that the gifts bestowed by fate always come with a hidden price tag. Now she was reaping the bitter fruits of her choices. It was getting late. My wife and I prepared to leave hand in hand. Suddenly, Angie's pleading voice rang out. Mr. Lloyd, could you please take a look at my paintings? I just can't understand. Her nose was still crooked as she rushed towards us, seemingly afraid she'd never get another chance like this. My wife looked at me, waiting for my decision. I shook my head. Let's not. I knew exactly what Angie was capable of. In another life, I had been the ghost artist behind many of her works. I used to think that what was mine was hers, that if she had a career she was passionate about, what did it matter if I was the man behind the scenes? Isn't that what married couples do? Support each other? But from beginning to end, I was nothing more than a tool for her to use. Moreover, in this life, Angie hadn't even made it to university, let alone pursued further studies. She had retaken her A-levels 3 times, each attempt worse than the last. When I learned of this, I wasn't surprised. A-levels are like a bottleneck, allowing no room for distraction or complacency. Life is much the same. If we're always looking elsewhere, always seeking shortcuts, how can we ever reach the finish line victorious? Epilogue. On her 35th birthday, Angie Green was diagnosed with cervical cancer. Holding the report in her hands, she suddenly realized she had no one to tell. Her father, ashamed of her, had cut ties long ago. Her mother, driven to illness by Angie's behavior, had developed breast cancer. By the time it was discovered, it was already in its late stages. There was nothing to be done. On the day her mother passed away, her father remained silent for a long time. As night fell, he spoke to her one last time. If only we had never brought you into this world. She never saw her father again after that. That night she had a dream. In the dream, she had cut her losses early, breaking up with Zion Harris before it was too late. When she had threatened suicide, it was Chaz Lloyd who had talked her down, missing his entrance exams to the Royal Academy of Arts in the process. She remembered Chaz Lloyd. She had always looked down on him before, but later he had become successful with a happy family of his own. She had once told him to watch her closely as she made it big, but it never happened. In the dream, because of her, Chaz hadn't gotten into the Royal Academy of Arts. She had been touched, briefly, but that feeling was quickly overwhelmed by ambition. Later, they had gone their separate ways, but years later, through twists and turns, she had met him again. They had gotten married. Chaz had been good to her, indulging her every whim. When she wanted to pursue further studies, he had given up all their savings. When she wanted to paint endlessly, he had willingly become a tutor to support her. He had always put her first. Eventually, it was she who had become successful. Applause, flowers, money, status. She had everything she had ever wanted. It was perfect, so perfect, but the dream came to an abrupt end. When she woke, she was alone. Angie sat motionless on the edge of the bed, unable to comprehend how things had turned out this way. As night fell like a veil around her, she finally broke down and wept bitterly.